Good evening. This is the online fourth lesson. Today we will going to learn how to draw dimension practice. So in this there is how we will give the proper dimension of a given drawing, and with this we can use different aspects of dimensioning. After completion of this lesson, the following objectives may acquire, that is avoidance of wrong dimension. We will see some examples also in this. Now let us practice on this. So we are already studied little bit of information regarding dimensioning of circle, arcs and chords. And dimensioning of angles and dimensioning of spherical square objects and dimensioning of chamfers, countersinks and tapers. So like that we are studied little bit of awareness previous studied. Let us take an example.
Dimensioning practice. The given view contains dimensions represented wrongly. The view is to be neatly redrawn, and all the dimensions are to be neatly represented as per the norm. The dimensions are to be represented outside the view. Clear distance will be provided between the outline and dimension line. The dimensions are to be neatly represented appropriately.
Now first let us consider what are the representations. Here for example 30 and 50 like mm or centimeters etc. Scale is is given, and we have to find in this dimension whether that given dimensions or represented dimensions are correctly represented or not. So in previous lessons, in previous informations, we are studied about the how the dimensioning represented. See, for example, this 50 mm or 30 mm or 20 mm, these are all the given lengths. So in any dimension, the dimension value should be outside and it will be given. So that we are already marking with a red indication, and before going this analyze the dimension, first you have to draw the solution like given this, and in this find out what are the mistakes are available or wrong dimensions are available in a given previous one. So first you have to analyze, as earlier there already that information is given. So first you find out that. Okay. Now once again you find out the red indications and observe keenly how going to be. There is a 40. That 40 is that should be placed like this, theta 40. That is it will be indicated, that is dia 40. It is indicated like that. That 40 arrow marks is not a correct representation. Theta 40 is a correct representation which indicates the dia. Similarly, 25 is given or represented inside the view as shown in the question, but that will be, it is not the correct way. That whatever the indications is available, that should be placed outside of the dimension. Means, so the dimension representation is from small and then big and then big and then like that. Means there is no overlap and there is no inside of the dia, inside of the dimension. So it is given like this. That 25 also is not correct. So that's why you observe there. Similarly, 20 or 10 is also not correct. Means radius of the radius, the total indication is it is not, radius means half of that dia. So that R10 is not a correct indication there. That's why it is given a wrong. So it is a wrong representation. So that's why. And but when you are keeping that like 40, dia 40. And similarly, you have to take, if R is the 10 and then that dia will become 20. So that 20 dia is should be placed outside of the what we can say figure or dimension. The representation is like 20, theta 20. So that indicates a dia. Observe clearly. And similarly there is a 40 and 20 and that 25 are inside the figure. That inside the figure representation dimension practice is not like that. So you have to place outside that information. Right? Similarly here 25 also, 25 is inside. That should be place outside of in a solution we observe there. Similarly, 20 means from center of the circle to edge, and similarly within that 20 is grossly represented. That is also is a wrong representation, and that we will place like this. That is 20 is placed as shown, just like. Now you place the remaining dimensions 30, 50 and 85. Similarly 70 is the outside of, means above 25, and 25 above 50, like this. Means all the dimensions are outside of the actual figure. So that's why it is the correct representation. Right? Now in this, what we learn, dimensioning practice with finding fault and mistakes, and how we will overcome the same with appropriate dimensioning norms. So this is the final conclusion we learn from the above example. So that's why you observe and we practice carefully. Now let us ask some questions, that is whether true or false. Like dimensions are to be shown externally as far as possible. So true or false means, so dimensions are to be shown externally as far as possible. Yes, it is true. In case of circles, the diameter should be represented with a prefix of phi. Whether it is true or false means, yes, it is true, because we are placed a dimension as we discussed earlier. As we find out the false finding of the dimension representations as previous information. So that's why we will place a prefix, that is in case of circle, dia will be placed a prefix of that information, that is units or values, that is 40, 540 and 520, like that. Now next one, center lines and axis must be extended well beyond the drawing. Is it true or false means, yes, it is true. Center lines and axis must be extended well beyond the drawing. Yes, it is true. Why? Because when the center line is given, it is extended, means just like it is means outside of the figure, actual figure will be represented. Center line means it will be flow like a line outside. So when we are saying that is true or false means it is a false representation. Now let us observe frequently asked questions. It is one of the example which is given in a previous example, that is draw figure and write correct way of dimensioning. So with the information we are practiced, we have found out a previous one. So we have to analyze how can we draw and place a correct dimensions. This is the correct one. you observe first, you observe here R28, R13. So in previous representation, when R is given, that is radius is given, that you have to convert into the dia. That should be, that is 5 should be placed before the value, that is 13. 13 means 26. 28 or 28, how to double that, means dia, you have to represent dia. So similar way you have to observe, and first you have to draw this one and then place the dimensions like this, which is the correct way. This one. One more example on dimension practice. So before going to that dimension practice, you have to recap the previous one, that is dimensioning practice with finding fault, mistakes and overcome the same with appropriate dimensioning. So this is the recap, means what we are learned previously. So what is the main objective, main motto of the dimensioning practice is, on completion of this period you should be able to know dimensioning practice with proper application of dimensioning norms and rules.
The dimensions are to be printed neatly as per the norm. All the dimensions are to be shown except represent the dimensions in an aligned manner. Keep the symbol for parameter clear to numerical value. The dimension in an aligned manner.
See, now let us analyze once again. So in the question, dimensions are 522 is dia, and there are two holes which are similar. So that similar representation we can show in the solution as given.
Keep the symbol for parameter clear to numerical value.
That is two same diameters, 2 into 522. So that it indicates there are two holes or dia, we can say. So similar way, and R40 and 40 is length is given. So which is also, it should not be placed like that. It should be placed like this. Like that. This is What is the total radius? Radius 20 is the total dia, which indicates phi is a 80. So like that you have to represent. Means which what we say is one of the circle. So in this we can write how can the questions are asked, like frequently asked questions, draw the figure and write correct way of dimensioning. Like that the questions will be asked in examinations. For example, the same dimension should not be repeated. Is it correct or not means you have to say it is true. So in previous example we studied how it will be placed, like 2 into 5 20. So like that it will be placed. Like one more you observe, means previous questions will be asked like this. Draw the figure and write correct way of dimensioning. That is 522, 532, SO22, 38, E35, etc. So like that in the previous questions it will be given like this. So it will be placed as per previous information. One more example. So after completion of this example we have to get, or we will able to know the dimension practice with the aligned system of dimension. After completion of right, now let us example 3 redraw the figure and how dimensions in aligned system. Thirty, 35, 5 like this. Just you observe. First you have to draw a figure as it is. There is no right. So as previous one we have to learn how the aligned system or dimensions should be placed. Means in this figure it is not the correct way of representation as previous one. So
example problem 3. In this view with representation of dimensions is available, and the task is to redraw the view and neatly represent the dimensions as per aligned system. simple for parameter clear to numerical value.
Now once again we will discuss in the example 3.
Problem 3. In this, a view with raw representation of dimensions is available. I thought to redraw the view and easily represent the dimensions as per aligned system. The dimensions are to be written neatly as per the law. All the dimensions are to be shown externally. Represent the dimensions in an aligned manner. Keep the symbol for parameter clear to the numerical value.
Now let us observe there. The dimensions are like 35 and 35 is the middle of that representation, and one more, that dia is 30, means radius is 30, like that the representation is there, and from there you have to identify how to be placed. Now first you draw as this. Don't keep the dimensions inside the object. So this, in this alignment system will indicate neatly representation of the dimensions as shown, just like you see there. That is that inside 20 is there, your and 30 is within inside that type of representation very zigzag. So you have to place, first you have to analyze that 30 is 35 is the dia, and from dia, so that will be from there 35 to, means in between 30, and total is 30, and you have to place the dimensions 30 plus 20, etc. Like this, 20, 30, 70 as it is, it should be keep outside, and moreover it is in between of the representation, but it would be placed on. Now observe cleanly. That 35 means the in symbol is placing after that numerical value, but that is not a correct way of representation. It should be placed before that, like this. Now in this also we will find out some true and false questions. That is, dimension line should not start from an outline. Dimension line should not start from an outline. it is true or false means it is true, because the dimension line should start from outline only, not inside, as earlier we observed there. Now some examples of previous questions asked in examination questions. First you draw the given figure. In this we can first you have to draw as it is the given figure, and then while placing the dimensions you have to follow the dimensional rules as the previous aligned system of dimension. Means follow the aligned system of dimensions as previous we draw and discuss some of the examples. Now this example, and then so in these examples we will complete the information regarding dimensioning practice with unidirectional system of dimensioning. So previously we have learned dimensioning practice in a aligned system. So now we study unidirectional system of dimensioning practice. So after completion of this unidimensional practice, we can able to learn, know dimension practice with unidimensional directional system of dimension practice.
Example problem 4. In this, the dimensions are to be represented as the three-dimensional system. In this, the dimensions are to be represented as the three-dimensional system. In this system, all of the dimensions
Now let us identify the dimensions which are being represented. Unidimensioning. Here all, first you have to draw a figure as it is.
Whether it is vertical, horizontal, or inclined, the dimension would be represented with vertical protractor.
That is like that. So while highlighting the information, you have to follow that indications. Vertical structure is 25.
So if all the dimensions were followed by integral analysis so as to avoid overlapping.
Yes. So that is one of the unidimensional representation. Even though as in previous one we are observed some important rules of the dimension practice. Here also you follow like that. Means first of all smaller dimension should be represented first and then bigger dimension. So there is a avoiding overlapping of the dimension practice. So in the question it is given that 20 and 25 and 5 is like means inclined. The representation is inclined. 35 is inclined. So it should not be represented like that. It is all the dimensions above the dimension line to be placed vertical. That is the main observation in this example. Similarly, R10 and in the previous example or question, R10, that is radius is given, but that radius we can represent it within the circle is the dia. It becomes 20 and the diameter representation phi 20. You can place phi is in front of that 20. Let us observe that highlighted 10 is different locations and different ways it would be represented, and total it become 20. So that indication is taking place like this. Ten and one over the other it will be represented. It is a aligned unidirectional system. Now after this, in this lesson we will learn about dimension practice with the unidirectional system of dimensioning. Now we will find out true or false in some true or false questions. So first one, unidirectional system, all dimensions must be represented in vertical stroke. Whether it is true or false means it is definitely we can say it is true. Why? Because all dimensions should be represented vertical stroke letters as earlier example. Why? Because that 5 is indication horizontal representation, but it is not a correct way of dimension practice. That's why it will be represented a vertical stroke letters. Now next, in case of circles, the radius must be indicated. No, we can't indicate a radius. We can represent in the form of dimension in case of circle representation. So it is a false type of question. So like that we will find out the true or false questions. It is the previously asked questions. First you have to draw this one. After completion of this period, you should be able to know dimensioning practice with aligned and unidirectional system of dimension. Means both can be identified with these examples. Mistakes in dimensioning and to rectify the same. Let us take one more example. Redraw the following figure and dimension it by aligned system and unidirectional system.
Example problem 5. In this, a view with strongly represented dimensions is available. The task is to redraw the view with proper dimensioning of as per aligned system and unidirectional system separately. Align the system. The dimensions must be printed neatly as per the law. All the dimensions must be shown externally. Represent the dimensions in an aligned manner. In this, the dimensions are to be represented as per unidirectional system. In this system, all the dimensions, whether it is vertical, horizontal, or inclined, the dimensions would be represented with vertical stroke letters.
Now let us find out some frequently asked questions. True or false? In this true or false, the extension line should touch the outline. Whether it is true or false means it is true. Extension line should touch the outline. And similarly, any dimension must contain a terminating point with arrowheads. Yes, it is true. Why? Because the end of the line arrow should be head. That should be terminating point of the dimension. This way we can give the frequently true or false, frequently asked questions. In this way, first you let us one more. Once again you listen that example.
Example problem 5. In this, a view with normally represented dimension is available. The task is to redraw the view with proper dimensioning of as per the line system and unidirectional system separately. Align the system. The dimensions are to be written neatly as per the law. All the dimensions are to be shown externally. Represent the dimensions in an aligned manner. In this, the dimensions are to be represented as per unidirectional system. In this system, all the dimensions, whether vertical, horizontal, or inclined, the dimensions will be represented with vertical group letters.
With this, we will conclude. One more exam questions. Some of the exam questions are given like this. First note on all and then try to analyze as previous explanation, like unidimensional, unidirectional, and alignment system of dimensions. Now with this we have to conclude this lesson with a dimensioning practice with aligned and unidirectional system of dimensioning, and we are learned some mistakes by practicing the dimensioning and to rectify the same in this lesson.